members have had a chance to review them, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. New business. Item number 1 is approval of AT&T work authorization for University Boulevard East roadway improvements project, total not to exceed $14,000. Tyler, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
If you remember last week, we talked a little bit about the University Boulevard East project when we were discussing the MPO funding. This is that same project. This is related to the underground conversion of utilities, specifically for AT&T's utilities. They are requiring that we agree either to take the utilities underground, to begin design at least. They're requiring that we either agree to take them underground or pay for their time to design the lines if we decide not to go underground in the project. Reasons that could happen are largely funding related if we find we don't have enough funding to actually do the underground conversion. They just want to know they're not going to go design something and spend a lot of time on it and then not actually make any money on it, or be reimbursed for their time, really.
Tyler, remind the committee, last week we were talking about sending this to the MPO. The University Boulevard, this project will go from where to where that we are trying to get funded.
This
that
is
way.
University Boulevard East from 30th Avenue East to Crescent Ridge Road.
Okay,
Which is the Walgreens.
okay,
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 Right.
I got you.
okay. Questions from the committee?
And this is a not to exceed $14,000 for that amount. If we do go underground, the charges will just be worked into the overall
Into the
cost to
cost
actually
of
do the
project,
conversion.
Right. Questions?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item number 2, approval of professional services agreement with Cassidy Company for sanitary sewer design manual update. Project total is $50,000. Clint, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Yes, sir. We're the sanitary sewer design manual, the current one, is in need of an update and be modernized. The last revision of the manual was back in 2010. A few areas that need to be updated, just a few, just a list right now is we need to add some lift station standards. Update some standard construction specification and details, and then update ALDOT spec references. Those are just a few things that we're wanting to update in the manual. The funding will plan to come from the OCE Water and Sewer Outside Services Fund. The project schedule, the project will be completed no later than February 29th, 2024. Any questions?
Yeah, so generally, how often does the manual get updated?
Let's see, it was last updated in 2010. I don't recall when it was updated before then.
I'm not sure either. I think that's probably when it was originated.
Right. I checked Auburn.
First update since then.
I checked the city of Auburn. Their last update was like 2020, I believe, when I was just kind of reviewing different cities. But that's but we can look into that.
Well, we sure want to be like Auburn.
I was just looking at different cities, see when they last updated.
Put me in a rough order of magnitude. Do we think this will impact 10% of what's in our manual, or 50%? What, do we have any sense of this? Well, running like $50,000 to update it? Give me what does it cost to do? How big's the
Yeah, I
manual?
was gonna say, how large is the manual?
50 pages or 5,000 or?
It's pretty hefty. Probably a few hundred pages, if I recall right.
I'd say it's 300 pages.
Okay, so
It's got
just talk, Brian, talk me into what is the heart of that cost? It's certainly not sitting down and transcribing this new reg from that new
Right.
reg, right?
Right.
It has to be some engineering insight into what's changed?
There's several chapters in the manual, and they're going to review the whole manual and look at what other cities are doing, look and compare it to the industry standard, and make sure that our standards reflect those. And so, that's 300 pages, several chapters of review and comments and and changes they're gonna have to make. So, you know, technical specifications for, backfill of sewer lines and patching and trenching and, what do we do for laterals, for tie-ins? Do we cut them in? Do we require Ys? Can you just do a saddle? There's a lot of just nuanced conversations that have to take place amongst the consultant and the city staff who have stake in it, to make sure the manual lays out the right expectations for our projects and for development projects.
How do y'all get your arms around what ballpark that pricing should land in? I mean, when you talk with Auburn and they revise theirs in 2020, do y'all say, yeah, what ballpark was that in to get a revision?
No, we didn't ask them that. We asked for
Do we
proposal.
bid it? Is it still out? Who will do it?
What's that?
Do we go get 3 prices?
We can't because this is professional services. You can't bid professional services. So we asked for the proposal. The proposal outlined the scope of work. We thought this was reasonable. Like, for instance, we have the transportation standards that we created. Now, we didn't have a manual. But that was a $100,000 fee 5 years ago. So this kind of falls in that order of magnitude.
Okay, well, you're getting the, because we all know what I know about engineering.
Yeah.
So when you say we thought that was reasonable, I'm trying to understand based on what? Why did you think it was reasonable? So that we can decide if we think it's reasonable.
Well, I mean, again, this is a years-long effort of a manual that's 300 plus pages. So that just takes a lot of time and effort to make sure things are where they should be. I can tell I'm not convincing you, but
Yes,
But you're dealing with ignorance, okay?
I don't know. I mean,
you're trying to get educated, that's all right.
yeah,
When you talk about updating the manual,
yeah.
not only will there be the items that you listed in the following currently, will there be any innovative visuals that go along into this manual? Or will it just be
It'll be standard.
just standard?
Standard details, like we have, like right now we have details for, how do you tie into the sewer line? And like it'll show that, it'll show, again, the trenching details. It's just an engineering manual, basically, of how our system needs to be built.
And it's based on, and it will be tailor-made
Yeah.
to the city of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but it'll follow engineering. One thing that I think I'm believing, that we don't have any real lift station standards, so they're having to build that from scratch.
Wow, okay.
And so that's, what's our pump preferences? Do we want, the wet well, do we want a dry, like all those components, all those things have to be thought through and how we're gonna maintain them. And so we have to have conversations with our in-house operations folks and make sure that what we're putting in the manual, again, lays out clear expectations for a developer to come in and build a lift station.
If I can help Brian out with a little bit of an apples to apples that may resonate. We have done this with different standards throughout engineering over the last several years. I don't think we've done one with this council, but a good example is years ago, we allowed corrugated metal piping to be used in storm drainage systems. Subsequently,
We're aware of that.
Subsequently, we changed some design standards through a process like this, and we no longer allow it. And so this process will look for things that we allow in our sanitary sewer design manual that may be outdated, need updating, there may be better ways to do it that we've learned since the last manual was done.
Okay.
Another thing that's coming to my mind is like when you have a development, there's a prescribed method to calculate the impact to the system, calculate the wastewater flows. It's antiquated in the main, nobody's doing it like that, so we need, that's a whole chapter rewrite. And how does it interface with the development?
This
side
is
of the
coming
house.
from your outside water and sewer services fund?
Yes, sir.
Money's in there?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Clint and Brian. Item number 3 is authorization to apply for the FY 2022 competitive supplemental discretionary grant with FAA and ALDOT. Jeff, welcome.
Good afternoon. Come before you with another grant application. This is a new process, not necessarily a new project. Historically, for supplemental discretionary funding, they've always selected those projects based off our pre-application that we do in the fall. Department of Transportation is getting more involved in notice for opportunities, NOFOs. So this year, even though it is 2022 funds, they've asked airports to take that project out of our pre-app that we did in the fall and put it in a specific application with this source of funding. So we're not asking for a project that we have not previously provided to the council. It is taking a project out of our pre-app for a electrical improvement to our electrical vault and adding backup power to that system. And that is still a 95.5 project, as our other grants have been.
Where's the money coming from?
Airport Improvement Fund.
Questions?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Before I introduce item number 4, I just want to say a couple things about this. Back a couple of months ago, we had a major discussion about a condominium development at North River Yacht Club. There were a lot of concerns that were presented by residents of my district. There were also concerns about potentially what would happen with the marina. And normally this item would be on the Properties Committee, and the Properties Committee doesn't meet until February the 7th, I think. And so I asked Chairman Wilson if it was okay if we bring it to the Projects Committee today and have the first discussion and potential vote, depending on what committee members say, about the permit, what was presented, a little bit about the process. I know Mr. Turner is here. I want to give him a time to answer questions also, but I want to thank our Lakes Division and Mr. Turner for working together, I think, very well on this and spending a lot of time making sure that if the council decides to approve this marina permit, that a lot of thought has gone into it. There's been a lot of good discussion, I think I could say honestly, and I think there's been good back and forth between the developer and between the lake, because I think the city and our Lakes Division and everybody in this on the council wants to make sure that we're doing what's right for our lake, and I believe that Mr. Turner has the same intentions also, that we want to do what's best for the lake, and I think that's a very important, unbelievable asset that we have as a city, and we want to protect it. And I just wanted to say that and ask any other committee members if they have anything to say before we start the discussion. But I appreciate James and the staff and Kimberly and everybody that's worked on this, because I think we've come to a good resolution, in my opinion, as we start this discussion. So anyway, with that, I will ask James to come up. This is our North River Yacht Club Marina permit discussion. So James, if you'll kind of lay out for us a little bit about what's happened and where we are with this, and be prepared to answer a few questions, sir.
Okay, question's probably good.
Yeah.
So like you said, we started several months ago. This is the yacht club permit, and we worked hard together, and I guess I'll start by pictures. This is what's there currently. The only thing that's staying is the pier that's out in the middle of the lake. He's gonna tear the rest of it out. It's got 97 permitted
The only
slips
thing
now.
that's staying is what?
The one that's out in the middle of the lake by itself,
Okay.
the newer one. It was replaced in 2018. And this is what Mr. Turner's wanting to put now. It's got 165 boat rental slips and 24 Sea-Doo, which bring us to 189. To get to this, we've come a long way. We've had, you see where we've X'd out one, we cut 10 slips off there. And then the new one out in the middle of the lake, we cut 8 slips off it. So it's a total of 18 slips we've cut off when he brought the permit to me. and we're gonna back, we're back, the new one out in the middle of the lake back towards the bank, I think about 10 foot, to give more room out in the lake. And we back the store up off the city property. And we're gonna let him do a little bit of dredging on the left-hand side on dock number 9, or he can back it up. We won't take up over a third of the slough on it. But I'm open for questions. It's all gonna have lights on all of it, boat lifts on all the boat slips. He's putting new gas pumps in, a new gas tank. He's totally redoing everything.
Does Yacht Club own the property, both to the south and the north? They own both sides of the slip, or the slough?
They basically own from the end of the slip on the right to the end of the slip on the left. That's the reason we cut the one out on the, with the eggs, because it's a separate piece of property. So he's going property line to property line.
They own the property across the water.
They do not own
No.
across the water.
And are there,
That's a new development, Mr. Busby, that we approved
yeah,
last year. I'm drawing a blank, James, what's the name of that development? Mark Herring's done.
North River Point.
Yeah, Mark Herring did that.
so are there any restrictions about what sort of spacing, open channel there needs to be between this and here?
Right, now see that one's already there existing. There is, you need at least 50 foot by best practices. That was approved in 2005 for that to be there. It had already been built. The first part had been built. And there was some stuff back in the 80s and 90s that it wasn't permitted correctly. And they come back and the city made them pay like $15,000 back taxes and fees, and the city permitted it commercial. And that's where it was put. So that's existing.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Across over there, this new development, are they gonna come back and ask for slips? I mean, I don't see how there'd be.
Right, they are. We have told Mark Herring and them that on the closest point there, on that lot, we're gonna tell him he's going to back up in a little spot and he's not gonna be able to have a regular size pier. You can come out 40 foot normally. He's not gonna be able to come out that far on that one side. But like I said, that's an existing pier.
But that was gonna be an issue whether this got approved or not, correct?
Correct.
Because there's an existing.
Correct.
There's an existing pier there. That's a good question, Mr. Fenner.
Andy's new pier don't stick out not quite halfway of the new one up there. You don't go quite halfway across the slough. Like I said, that's the existing one that's been there since like '84.
James, what is the issue about the buoys? And, you know, I've had several of the homeowners say something to me about trying to change part of the wake zone, you know, that's there with those buoys in that channel. I mean, what's the process of that, and how do you see that developing?
So they'll have to, the state tells us where to put the buoys at. We regulate them and all that, but they put them out. I maintain them, they regulate them. So they had to put a application in the state, and then their state guy comes out and tells them where they can put it at, if they allow them to move or not, which I'm sure they would. And how many and all that, then I put them out, and then they just have to be policed. That's one of the main problems on lake, people don't follow the buoys, that have to be policed.
So, just to make sure I'm understanding, so there's no additional impediment for what this property owner can do imposed by what this plan is? Yeah, I think what I understood you to tell me was, if this had not been previously built and permitted, it wouldn't be able to go out that far. Did I understand that?
I mean, that's up to the council.
Well, I know, but the council's trying to understand, I'm just, these property owners, I don't
They
know,
get their piers.
they get their piers,
Right.
and they're not under any additional impediment by what's being presented to us than they were previously.
Right, correct.
Councilman Wilson, do you have any questions?
I've had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Turner a while ago, and Mr. Chair, I have no questions at this time.
So it's 8 new docks instead of 165 boat slips, 24 jet skis. He's gonna add 2 trams. He's gonna have seawalls. He's gonna add lighting all the way through them. And I put this on here for some measurements from the new ones are in yellow. You got 140 foot between it and the far bank. I guess that answers more of the new.
And that's ample, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what would normally be required.
Right, that is fine, and by best practice, because they're supposed to be in wake only coming in there, idle speed only.
And was the, there was some yan before this ever came to us, when we were just talking about the building up there, about whether the refueling operation was gonna sell publicly or just to, what was it, Andy? What was the
Yeah, so,
the
what do
fur
you mean?
fight?
Right, so would gas be sold to the public or just to North River members? It's all, like, North River was already in the process of making it available to the public when I started contacting them to purchase that. So it's actually now already where you can pull up to the, I mean, it's already.
Okay, so we don't anticipate that'll be yet another issue brought up and.
And additionally, we're adding, a state-of-the-art double-wall fuel tank. So currently there are 2 600-gallon tanks. They're in a dike, and so common problem with 1,200 gallons is running out of gas. And it has a very old pump system that's pretty slow. Ours will be brand new, and we're putting in 2 brand new state-of-the-art retail pumps. So that the pump is really in and out fast. The other thing is with it being where they can pump it really anytime because it's pay at the pump, it's not restricted to a very narrow set of hours to get gas as well. So I can go, if I know big weekend coming up, I can go on Thursday afternoon and fill up with no problem and not have to worry about any congestion or anything like that.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Are there, Andy, would you like, James, again, thank you for your hard work on this and staff. Andy, would you like to make any comments or not?
Sure.
Or-
I'll make a few, just
Yeah.
kind of mainly about the buoys and the weight, I think is an important item. So yeah, thanks James for working with me. He's been great to work with through this process. We've, I think, both learned a lot doing this, particularly about the sizes and the weight zones. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that there's a lot of people who do not pay attention to weight zones. So I'm there a lot now, and I see repeatedly, and it's not kids driving boats, it's 50-year-old men who totally disregard the weight. I mean, those buoys are out a good bit past where those docks are right there. They'll come in there full speed and not slow down. And then once they've done fishing in there, they gun it back here where this big dock is all the way out. And so one of the things that we are going to do is we will be installing cameras throughout the marina, and we will be tracking boaters who create problems, and they will not be allowed to purchase gas in a marina or utilize the store. And we will be providing the video to either Tuscaloosa
TBD.
Police Department or the state troopers on the lake, because we have a significant investment there too, and we don't want to see people having that kind of behavior. So this will be fully staffed with the general manager on site, grounds porter there, and then we'll have seasonal staff throughout the year as well, serving the marina and making sure it's at a very high standard of operation.
Do you expect, the buoys work, James educated me on, you've got to apply and work with the state to get that, and then would you assume when that happens, and talk about that process, but then I would assume there might be a bunch more buoys put out there, several more, because aren't there just 2?
I think there are
2?
currently 4 buoys.
4, okay.
There's 4 buoys.
Okay.
I think that the challenge, and I don't know the codes on this, but the no wake buoy looks just like a hazard buoy, looks like any buoy out there. And so one of the thoughts that I had was if we could find a little bit larger buoy with unique markings that make it stand out as a no wake. Because it's surprising how people just totally disregard those buoys.
Is this an educational issue or is it just lack of interest?
Lack of interest, because most of what I see are bass fishermen, and they know the rules a lot of times. I mean, they should. They're out there the most. And that's generally who I see flying into the marina, and then they're there fishing, and then they fly out of the marina. I thought it was, I mean, talking to Randy Rose, that's what he had said. It was, you know, the men, older men, not kids. I had previously seen kids, but in being out there steadily for 2 months, I haven't seen a single kid. It's been, without fail, bass fishermen just blowing in there and blowing out.
Will you guys keep working together on this? Because I do think that's a major issue that the people that live in that sloop
Yes.
have said to me, and I'm sure that's gonna come back up. Again, the sooner we can try to solve that problem or make it either, to your point, more visible or
Right.
whatever that is to try to educate people on that, hopefully.
Well, and I think with
It's
enforcement
gonna be
too.
it's gonna be a lot of boat traffic potentially. That's been the concern, I think, the whole time, Andy.
Yeah, and I think that once we get enforcement in place and we start reporting people, should quickly get people's attention about that's not going to be accepted.
Any other questions by the committee?
I'm not on the, but can you give us an update on the other?
The condos?
Yes.
Yes, so we actually started pre-sales on Monday. What's today? Tuesday? And we have sold 6 of the 34 already.
Wow.
And I've got emails and phone blowing up right now on interest, and so it's looking very good start on the condo pre-sales for that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Andy, to Mr. Tyner's point, talk again about the time frame of all this. I mean,
Sure.
if the committee and the council approves this, what's the time frame going forward now for everything, for the whole?
For the whole project. So right now, we're getting final, the architects and engineers are finishing up full construction drawings on the condo building, hoping to start that in early April on construction, and it'll be a 16-month construction period, so hopefully into July 2024, that will be open. We have finished the design on the marina store, and it's out for bid on final costs on building that building. We're in design phase on the restaurant, and as soon as the permit is finally approved, hopefully next week we get an approval for that. It's already fully designed and the manufacturer's ready to start production. They have a 10-month delivery time on producing them. So that hopefully, perfect world, we have the store and the docks all 100% open by the end of this year. We're aiming for the restaurant by the end of the year as well. And then the condos open April of 24.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I would ask the committee, are we prepared to vote on this? If so, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'm okay with it.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought before this committee? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second. All in favor say aye.